You know, for a lot of parents in India right now, this is one of the biggest questions they'll ever have to answer. It's a huge decision wrapped up in big dreams, a lot of anxiety, and some truly eye-watering numbers. So are these international schools actually worth that massive price tag? Let's get into it.
This quote from Shilpa Arora, a parent from Delhi, really just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? Her family went all in on the international school dream, only to see their plans get completely turned upside down by things happening halfway across the world. Her story really frames our entire conversation today. It's about the high-stakes gamble on a child's future.
And when Shilpa says, so much, she is not kidding. Just look at this number, 25 lakh rupees. That's what her family paid for just one single year of her daughter's schooling in class 12. I mean, that's not just school fees. That's like buying a small apartment every single year.
So this really gets to the heart of the dilemma. The Arora family's story isn't just a one-off. It actually represents this much bigger trend where a changing world is forcing parents to stop and seriously rethink a choice they once saw as a guaranteed path to success. And here's where it got really painful for them. Sana, their daughter, was all set to study medicine in the US. She had admissions, she had scholarships lined up, but when the family decided it was better for her to stay in India, they hit a brick wall. The subjects she took in her international curriculum just didn't match up with what she needed for India's medical entrance exams. This forced a last-minute, incredibly stressful switch to engineering.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this decision, we need to be crystal clear about what we're comparing. Let's break down the real fundamental differences between an international school and, say, a traditional Indian school like CBSE or ICSE.
So first things first, what does international school even mean in India? It's not just about a fancy campus. It all comes down to the curriculum they offer. Most of the time, that means the International Baccalaureate, or IB, and the Cambridge curriculum known as IGCSE. The whole idea of what they're selling is that they go beyond just textbooks to focus on the whole child, critical thinking, personal growth, and what everyone calls life skills.
And this slide really lays out the two completely different worlds of education we're talking about. On one side, you've got the international system, which is all about a research-based, analytical approach. The goal is to create adaptable thinkers. And on the other side, you have the traditional Indian system. It's more study-intensive, very focused on the syllabus, and, as a lot of us know, often relies heavily on rote learning.
And wow, look at this. This chart just lays out the financial reality of that difference. It's not a small gap, it's a massive chasm. A good Indian school might set you back between 1 to 4 lakh rupees a year. But international schools? They start around 7 lakh rupees and can skyrocket to 30 lakh rupees or even more. The difference is just huge.
Which, of course, leads to the big question, why? Why are so many families willing to take on this incredible financial burden? What's the logic behind making this choice?
Well, it really boils down to two big promises. The first, and probably the most obvious one, is that it's seen as the best and smoothest pathway to a university education abroad. The whole system is designed for that. The second promise, and this one is getting more and more popular, is the idea that it teaches those real-world skills. You know, problem solving, time management, communication, things that don't always show up on a report card.
And this quote from Faiza Mirza of WACE India, it just perfectly captures that second promise. The argument is simple. In a world that's changing so fast, being able to adapt is way more valuable than just memorizing a bunch of facts. That's the core idea that parents are buying into.
All right, so that's the dream. That's the sales pitch. But now it's time for a reality check. Once you get past the glossy brochures, what are the hidden costs and the unexpected problems the families actually run into? And look, the problems aren't just about that big number on the tuition bill. You can really break them down into 4 key areas. First, those fees are not static. They go up. Second, there's a sneaky hidden cost, lifestyle inflation. Third, you have the transition trap, which is exactly what happened to Sana Arora. And fourth, a really critical problem, there just aren't enough teachers who are actually trained for this curriculum.
Let's put a number on that fee inflation, because we're not talking about a little bump here and there. Some of these schools are jacking up their fees by 15 to 20% every single year. A cost that's already sky high can become totally unmanageable really fast, even for families who are pretty well off.
And here's another parent, Jigyaso Pandey, spelling out that second challenge. This is the unlisted price of admission. The social environment, the other kids, it often creates this pressure to upgrade everything, clothes, phones, even family vacations, just to feel like you fit in. It's a real cost, and it's almost never in the budget.
Now, this next point is a huge one. It can completely undercut the very quality you're paying a premium for, a serious shortage of qualified teachers. Just take a city like Coimbatore. You've got 25 to 30 IGCS schools popping up, but the number of teachers who actually know how to teach that curriculum, it isn't keeping up. And that mismatch means the amazing education you were promised might not be what your child is actually getting in the classroom.
Okay, so with all of this in mind, the promises, the problems, how on earth do you make the right call for your family? Well, we can boil all of this down into a pretty clear framework to help you think it through.
Let's break it down. An international school is probably the right call for you if you can honestly check these boxes. 1, you can truly comfortably afford not just the fees, but the whole lifestyle that comes with it. 2, you are absolutely certain your child is going abroad for college. And 3, you really believe in an education that prioritizes analytical thinking over just memorizing the syllabus.
But on the flip side, a traditional Indian school is probably the smarter bet if 1, cost is a really big factor for your family. 2, going abroad for college isn't a sure thing. This helps you avoid that dangerous transition trap. And 3, your main goal is to get your child ready for India's super competitive entrance exams.
At the end of the day, this isn't just a decision about the next few years of school. It's a bet on what the future is going to look like. And that leaves all of us with a really big question to chew on. In a world that's so uncertain and changing so fast, which one of these paths really gives a child the skills and the resilience they're going to need to succeed?